Mythbusters. It's practically science. Kind of.
Alright, so now we have a great myth to go over here where we examine innate behaviors in mice through auditory signals.
Alright, well that sounds great. How do we plan on doing that?
Well, first we have to get two types of mice. We need a wild and a captive type. And then we're going to play some different types of music and see how they react.
Wow, that sounds great. What happens if they don't show any innate behaviors?
Well, then we're going to shock them a whole bunch while one type of music's playing and see what happens. See if we can teach them something.
Cool. Well, let's go catch some mice.
Alright, we're out here hunting for rodents for our experiment now. Got these darts tipped with a mild sedative. They should knock out the rodent in one shot. Should be no problems. No real harm to the animal. So, yeah, we're just going to post up here and wait for one to come out. Hopefully we'll be able to get a good shot at one. We got one here. We'll wait for it to come broadside. We should be able to get a good shot at it. That's perfect. Clean shot. Got it right in the midsection. It's obviously down for the count. So now we have a wild rat for our experiment. Wild rodent right there.
Here we kept our natural built environment for our rodent that we just caught out in the wild. As you can hear, we're playing a song that should not be threatening to it. And as you can see, since the song's non-threatening, it's just going about its daily business as if nothing was happening. So now that we've observed its natural response to a normal song that it'd be used to, we're now going to switch it to something else that it should find a little more threatening. So let's see what happens.
Get me out of here! Get me out! Get me out of here! Get me out!
So here we are, doing the same thing as we did for the wild mouse that we're doing for the captive mouse now. Same song, same habitat, and just observing its reaction, which is unchanged. It's just acting normal. So now we're going to switch it up to play the same song we did for the wild rodent, just to see how the captive one reacts.
Feeling this.
As you can see, the captive rodent had no change in behavior.
Alright, so we're still continuing with this research now. As we can see that it wasn't innate to be afraid of the predatory sounds. We're going to elicit a shock to try and receive a learned behavior. We're going to try and teach it to be afraid of this auditory sound. So we're going to elicit the shock right after this song, and hopefully it'll correlate the two, the sound and the shock together. So let's see what happens. Alright, so now that we've done the shock therapy tests a few times, we're hoping that we will have taught the lab mouse to be afraid of the predator sounds. So we'll play the song and hopefully we'll get a response to the auditory sounds. So let's see what happens. Oh, this hurts my ears! Ah! Ah! Ah!
So we're here with the lab mouse, and what did you think about the first song we played?
It's really enjoyable. I really like that. Reminds me of a lot of good times I've had.
Yeah, well, how about that second song?
Well, I liked it at the beginning, but after a while, it didn't grow on me anymore, and it freaked me out. I was really scared.
How come? Was there a certain reason?
I don't know. I just can't explain it. It's just scared me.
Okay, well, we're sitting here with the wild mouse to find out what he thought about all this. So what did you think about that first song?
Delightful. It's a great song.
How about the second one?
Don't want to talk about that song.
No, how come?
I've seen a lot of bad things happen when I hear that song.
So how do these rodents receive this auditory sound?
So what happens is the sound is a mechanical sense, and we receive it with mechanical receptors. These receptors are not neurons, but actually specialized epithelial cells, which form a synapse to the sensory neuron.
These cells are predominantly ciliated and considered hair cells. The ears of mammals are broken into three parts. The first part is the pinna, which forms the shape of the ear. The second part is the middle ear, which is where the sound is changed into waves in the auditory canal, and the third part is a fluid-filled membranous sac along with hair cells that involves processing the sound.
Alright, so processing the sound, the hair cells move one way or the other in response to this, the sound waves. The hair moves and it opens potassium channels, which depolarizes the cell. This depolarization opens calcium channels, which allows calcium to enter the cell. Then, the calcium that has entered the cell allows neurotransmitters to be released and increases the frequency of action potentials, allowing us to hear whatever is causing the sound. The reverse can occur, causing the potassium channels to close, and then the calcium channels to close, and then limiting the number of neurotransmitters that are released. But that's hearing in rodents or any mammals.
Okay, now that we know how these animals receive the signals, we can discuss what we actually did in the experiment. So first, we saw that the wild rodents had an innate response that they froze, and the lab rodents did not. So then we successfully conditioned these lab rodents with an auditory signal and a shock.
So after going over what we saw in the experiment, what did we actually learn? First, we see that wild rodents showed a predisposed fear and the lab rodents didn't. This shows that they learned this socially by observing others who are afraid of the auditory calls. Second, we were able to condition the lab rodents to be afraid of the auditory calls by eliciting them to a shock. And this is some type of a conditioned learning. So, that's all we have for you here at Mythbusters. We'll see you next time. Don't judge.